This is your World War III update. Okay, here we go. You know, while all of the grifters and con artists and rage baiters out there, from Nick Fuentes to Tim Pool to Candace Owens to Milo Yiannopoulos, Roseanne Barr, the list goes on, all of these infighters right now, well, they're creating great entertainment for all of us to watch the undoing, the Ouroboros of the right-wing grift tearing itself to shreds. As entertaining as that is, we've been telling you to take action. We've been giving you pragmatic advice, telling you should probably buy silver, which is now $64 an ounce. This is historical. Up 5% today. Is there going to be a pullback? Probably, but I mean, who cares at this point? $64 an ounce. But unfortunately, we all know what that means. Anybody with half a brain and a vague understanding of macroeconomics understand exactly what that means. When the new Fed chair comes in 2026, it is going to, the money printers are going to get hot. I mean, they're going to get hot. Gold's even going up again because of that. Gold's going to $10,000 an ounce. And that's not a good thing. It's going to buy you the same amount of stuff. Unless the housing market crashes, which that's long overdue as well. Maybe you'll be buying things for pennies on the dollar. My friends, the governments of the world are getting ready for World War III. The Canadian government is getting ready to organize a citizens' army. Okay, you already got one in the States. It's called ICE. You know, those Stasi-esque secret police who don't legally have to provide a badge number or even identify themselves, which is why there's been like 60 fraudulent cases of people walking around with ICE uniforms, accosting people, arresting them, kidnapping them, because people think that they're ICE agents and they cover their faces and all that stuff. Yeah, that's coming to Canada as well. And of course, because government never relinquishes control, once they've done what they need to do with the immigrants and they want to justify their inflated budgets, they're going to continue to try to find new threats to neutralize of a homegrown extremist sort. We got a little bit to talk about with respect to that as well, with the United States looking at a bill which will have anybody who plans on entering that country have to forfeit 5 years of their social media handles and history, and even their biometrics, their DNA, okay? This is crazy. But what I want to talk about today is this plan for a massive mobilization in Canada to fight World War III. Now they're going to say, oh, it's not because of World War III. We just want to be prepared, which is a good thing. I'm not knocking preparedness, but we got to read between the lines. They're taking all the guns. The cops look like they're going to war with the population. Every day they got some other, gadget on their vests. Meanwhile, here we are, neutered to all hell, completely defanged, and they're getting ready to stick us in a trench. Get a load of this. Canada's military is exploring how to raise 100,000 reservists. I mean, Russia does that over the weekend. I mean, these numbers are just pathetic. 300,000 supplementary citizen soldiers on top of 85,000 regular force members, of which now there's 65,000, and I think there's like 35,000 reserves, and no citizen soldiers. You know who they're going to conscript for the citizen soldiers, right? All those people who want to fast track to permanent residency. I predicted that too. Just watch. A new director, Czar, General Position and Mobilization Office, which includes 8 officers and 6 civilians, has been created to design and manage the buildup in the case of a major crisis. Because it's the government, it will probably take 1,000 years to get any of this done. That's the only thing we have going for us, which is why you have all the municipalities and provinces rejecting the government's call to confiscate firearms. Ongoing political conflicts. Here's the justification, okay? It's right in your face. It's what I've been saying for a long time. They're going to go conscription. And there are people who are saying that there's some kind of clause in there which effectively makes this tantamount to actual conscription. Anyways, we'll get to that. Ongoing geopolitical conflicts are straining global supply chains for military-grade equipment, further limiting access to critical materiel and increasing lead times for domestic procurement. This is possibly the tallest order that the Canadian Armed Forces has received since the end of the Cold War, according to Christian Leprecht, a professor at the Royal Military College of Kingston, Ontario. Because we need to reconstitute the regular force, we need to significantly and massively expand the primary reserve and then build up the supplementary reserve, the Citizens Army. Now, this is hilarious because you remember how they were joking about the Russians not having enough uniforms and training with fake guns and all that stuff? Uniform lead times, they're already talking about hand-me-down uniforms, which is quite common. It has already been common for years in the Canadian military, wearing somebody else's underwear. Uniform lead times are 6 to 24 months. I'm not being literal, by the way, but you're using the same backpacks and clothing and other things. Anyways, 6 to 24 months for uniforms. So just to get the uniforms, you have to wait 24. I mean, this is stupid. Any expansion will likely be a slow trickle because industry can't ramp up quickly. Now, this is the intended role of this new reserve. They're calling it a strategic supplementary reserve. Whenever they talk about strategic, they're talking about how are they going to lock the population down after the nukes drop. If you want to play that tape to its logical conclusion. Envisioned for everything from domestic disaster response to large-scale combat operations. You see, they're going to need an army of people to go around and take people's shit after it hits the fan. That's what this is. This is a post-apocalyptic gang. This is very proactive. This is not some reactive thing. They know what's coming down the pike, and they need to get ready. They realize they're going to have manpower constraints. And, when they need to come and expropriate yours truly's stuff, they're going to need an army to take it. I guarantee you that much. Kerrigan doesn't see, Kerrigan is chief of the defense staff. Doesn't see an invasion threat, but does worry about things like missile strikes. Missile strikes. What kind of missiles would be hitting Canada? Probably intercontinental ballistic fuck you nuclear missiles. That's what she's talking about. Now, there are political and social hurdles. Historian Peter Kazurik questions the strategic rationale for 300,000 lightly trained people and is concerned about a clause allowing legislative activation, which he says amounts to a quasi-conscription once people are on the list. Don't go on the list. Don't enter that contract with the devil. All right, they're going to make it very enticing. We're going to give you a fast track to citizenship. We're going to pay your college tuition. Then before you know it, when the Chinese and the Russians are storming over the horizon, all of a sudden, there's a knock at your door. And you turn out to be one of those guys that's getting stuffed in a van by people with masks who are not obligated to share their badge numbers, just like ICE and the SBU in Ukraine. Former National Security Advisor Vincent Rigby says the government will need a major public communication effort to to convince Canadians that this is necessary in peacetime, given Canada's weak defense culture outside of crises. Interesting. In addition to that, okay, this is crazy. I was getting ready to bug out to the United States. I don't think it's going to be an option now, the way things are going. Now, I'm pretty sure Canadians have immunity to this for now, but of course, it's mission creep. The Trump administration's U.S. Customs and Border Protection has proposed mandatory disclosure of 5 years of social media history for travelers from 42 visa waiver program. They got to make sure that you're not criticizing Israel. That's really what this amounts to. They want to make sure of that, because that's really the litmus test for compliance. Anybody else is going to operate well within the Overton window of their controlled opposition. But once you start straddling that line of controlling Israel and your name isn't Tucker Carlson or whoever else they have steering that herd, then they know that you're probably dissident enough that you're going to be a liability. Unless you have lots of money and you buy a Trump gold card and it doesn't matter. You can be as terroristic as you want. 42 visa waiver program countries entering the U.S. for up to 90 days without a visa. Okay, so this is what they're asking for. I mean, this is the most dystopian shit I've ever heard. And eventually, this is just going to be required for everybody in that country. But at least in the United States, they get to keep the AR-15s. All social media accounts from the last 5 years. Now, the workaround here is that you would just delete your account if you had anything on there that was questionable. Even if you were a righteous person and, you were just out for the cause of humanitarianism, but you knew it would be misconstrued as, you're somehow anti-American. You could just delete your social media account, although there is that website. What's it called? What's it called again? You guys are saying it right now. The one that freezes takes a snapshot of every web page every single day for the last 1,000 years. What's it called? The Wayback Machine. That's it. So they would still have it there, and maybe they would be able to find a way. And this is where Palantir is going to be factored in. AI is going to do all this stuff, right? All of your biometrics, face, fingerprint, DNI, and iris, DNI, do not inventory, DNA and iris data, all of your phone numbers from the past 5 years, all of your email addresses from the last 10 years, so they can run a Google search, IP addresses and metadata from your submitted photos, names of your family members, parents, spouses, siblings, children, all of your family members' phone numbers from the last few years, all of your family's information, dates of birth, places of birth, residencies, all your business phone numbers from the last 5 years, business email addresses from the last 10 years. They want it all. Now, some people will say, hey, you want to come into the country? That's just the price of being an American citizen. But again, it's the trickle-down effects, right? And it's the fact that they are getting us ready to live in a post-collapse dystopian world. Very slowly, very subtly. Guys, keep on prepping. Keep on stacking. We're going to do the actual World War III deep dive later on today because there's a lot to talk about. They're seizing oil tankers. One of the biggest oil tankers in the world was recently seized. 1.8 million barrels. The biggest oil tanker ever was effectively stolen by the United States. Okay, now Trump says we're going to keep it. I don't know what the legalities of that are. I believe this was an Iranian vessel that was potentially transporting Venezuelan crude to Cuba, and Russia might have a hand in this. The Ukrainians did a massive attack on Russia last night, and despite everything that we're hearing, it's not going well. It's not going well. It's just Cambodia, Thailand, that shit's hitting the fan there. I mean, Israel's talking about going it alone against Iran. You got the majority of the U.S. Navy right now actually in and around the Indo-Pacific as they do B-52 nuclear bomber flybys near China. So, yeah, it's probably not looking good. I think this is right about the time when the government says, okay, I think we got to get this citizen army going, not because we're going to fight the Russians, but because we're going to fight our own people after it hits the fan. Tune in later for the news. Thanks for watching.